Hey there, friends and enemies, Joker here again. And if you've been watching the channel, you know I can't get enough of the Remnant 2 content we have. I am so excited for early access and the full launch. And so I wanted to check out this video from Legacy Gaming where they talk about playing Remnant 2 early, which unfortunately I have not had the chance to do. So I'm going to instead react to this video and see what the hype is all about.
Kodiak here. Welcome back to Legacy Gaming. If you've seen our tweets recently, then you know our whole team has been knee-deep in Remnant 2.
That boss looks sick.
Now. We honestly can't show anything new quite yet.
Oh, that's a bummer.
About our first impressions of the game, and as gaming creators, one thing we always want to do is help you determine if a game is worth playing. So let's get into it. Keep in mind, based on the footage limitations, some of the content you see is not going to line up with what I'm talking about.
The bosses look
sick,
by the way.
So feel free to close your eyes and treat this more like a podcast.
I'm listening, but the gameplay looks sick
so to
still.
start, it's really no secret that we're having an incredible time with Remnant 2, and regardless of if the developers gave us access to the game early or not, we'd still be playing this game top to bottom because Remnant from the Ashes is on some of our top 5 lists. Where you notice the evolution from Remnant 1 to Remnant 2 almost immediately is with the archetypes and the overall class identity.
It looks like it's going to be the game changer for sure.
Feels more like an adventure RPG, and a lot of that has to do with the way the team has reworked everything that feeds into a character's loadout.
I love
Skills
that.
really help define each archetype and are completely new to the game. So while mod powers function largely the same and are tied to weapons, your skills are tied to your archetype choice, which helps establish that sense of class identity.
Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Choice, you also get a slew of passive perks as well as an archetype trait, and that feels impactful. It levels up passively in parallel to normal progression, and then once it reaches level 10, becomes available in the general trait pool, so you can change archetypes around and still have access to one of the things that made the archetype unique. Honestly, it's a brilliant system that just furthers the insane amount of build potential within the game.
That's one of the things that I've been talking about a lot with Remnant 2 is the game looks like it is taking things to a next level with build potential. And I know the replayability has always been with Remnant from the Ashes in the variable levels, right? Different bosses that you're going to face with each playthrough. But now you're also going to have that and increased amounts of build options, and that is fascinating to me because I'm really looking forward to multiple playthroughs of this, checking out different archetypes where combinations, you'll have a primary and a secondary. I could run handler with a challenger to make myself beefier. You could run a full support class. It just sounds like it's going to be really awesome, and that's what I'm most anticipating about the game. And I've long been talking about that being the biggest upgrade from what I've seen in my personal opinion.
Most of the things that pipe into the character system are great, but it's not a perfect system, and we have some small nitpicks specifically around the cost of that flexibility. The game touts playing the way you want and offers that up, but you do have to pay for some of those options, and the cost is pretty high, especially starting out. That also impacts your ability to try everything out because you'll get a new weapon and want to immediately test it, but quickly realize there's not enough scrap in the world to keep up with all the upgrading. It's a limitation that we understand but don't love because it does nothing to elevate the experience. It's simply a burden, and when there is so much elsewhere within the game to offer satisfaction, it's a roadblock that serves, in our opinion, no real purpose.
You just have to be smart
for now,
with what you
also
upgrade.
Have to consider you can, after a little progression, have 2 equipped, which means you get all of the benefits of one archetype and most of another, which is just insane.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Completely new to Remnant 2, and the team absolutely nails the execution.
That's good.
While also doing something unique that no other game is doing in the process. Livid would kick me if I didn't also mention what Remnant 2 took away from the game, the dependence on armor sets. And while we've talked about that before in other videos, it's a huge deal, and we really understood that completely once we started unlocking mutators. Because you're not worried about set bonuses, which are no longer tied to armor, when you find a new set, you can almost always just slap it on and have fun with it. Mutators take the idea of set bonuses and instead give you the ability to slot specific items on your weapons for those
I think that's a
added
massive
effects.
change.
You do have to kill aberrations, which are challenging elite enemies to unlock a mutator, so it takes time. But that armor
I think that's good.
A lot of Remnant
something to chase
about is gone. I want to pivot and talk about the worlds for a minute. My God, the level design and art direction is just incredible. I walked into Losum for the first time.
The bosses and enemies look great.
Blown away. Like, we're talking super ornate Anor Londo vibes here. Not only is each
Yeah, I'm
world
a fan.
beautifully detailed, but the efforts the team has gone through to make each zone more expansive and feel unique is special. Even at 150 hours spread across our entire team, we've only scratched the surface, and that's saying something.
So that's something that I think is underrated with the original Remnant and has me most excited about Remnant 2 is that the game looks like it's bringing more unique visuals, more unique locations, and a lot more to explore, which I think is a good thing because, again, with these variable changes to every level, every playthrough, and it's just going to make you want to explore as much as possible, find every boss, find everything that you can possibly do in the game. And I'm thrilled about that. It looks like there's just going to be so much to do on top of what we saw from Remnant from the Ashes.
The joys of trying to find that perfect tile set, you know, the ones that hold the clues to new items, is still very much a thing, but the more immersion-breaking concerns from the first game really haven't been a factor. The balance between the procedurally generated content and the handcrafted set pieces works, and that's not something a lot of teams have been able to perfect. There's also
I'm really excited about
secrets. Oh, the joy of finding secrets in
That's
Remnant
awesome.
2.
Oh, I'm really excited about that.
Livid is the true Remnant expert on the team. I'm really the newbie, and to unpack some of the things Gunfire Games has hidden around the map is absurd. We're talking actual secrets, not something marked on a map that requires you to push a button. The amount of brain power it takes to solve some of these things is fantastic, and an experience I didn't realize I missed in my video games. Obviously, no spoilers here. This is just impressions.
It feels a lot like
when you do go hands-on, check everything. And
I feel like that's similar to Elden Ring, and I wonder if we'll see more games that do that. Have things throughout the world that you just naturally uncover. Because in this day and age of YouTube and everything being relatively easy with certain games, it's nice to have other options with games that are more complex, whether you're figuring out puzzles, whether you're figuring out secrets, whether you're having more challenging enemies. So having that duality, I think, is good. We want games that are going to be easy and just pure story-based. We want games that are more difficult, that test you a little bit more. And I'm really excited that Remnant 2 is the latter, and hopefully will provide that challenge and that level of secrets that I'm looking for.
I do mean everything. For the sake of time, I think we need to touch on combat, because at the end of the day, that's a huge factor for a lot of players.
Correct.
The long and short of it is this: it feels absolutely amazing. The clunkiness that is often associated with Remnant 1 has, in our opinion, received a nice coat of polish.
That's awesome, because that was my biggest problem from the Ashes.
Do we still mess up trying to revive each other and end up petting the dog? You bet, but it still feels way better.
That's good.
Where some people might be surprised is on the subject of difficulty. It's a tough game, there's no doubt about that, and we all know that. But to find that on many fronts the game is more challenging than Remnant from the Ashes may be news to some of you.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Considering the game, just realize that if you play most games on a harder setting, you're gonna need to temper expectations.
That's fair.
That started out on the veteran difficulty, still struggling at times to defeat some of the game's challenging bosses. Yeah, it's a shock, but that only furthers the satisfaction of actually.
That's what I was saying earlier, for sure.
I'd classify Remnant 2's difficulty progression as stepping stones. You play on a lower difficulty so that you can gear up and reach that next rung on the ladder. Then grind it out some more, reach that next difficulty until you're eventually pushing Apocalypse, the hardest difficulty.
Kind of feeling almost like World Tiers, but not labeled as such.
Presents the chance to find new loot in general and from bosses. And man, speaking of bosses, let's just talk about that for a second.
The bosses look incredible.
I love a good boss fight, I really do. And when I got my first taste of some of the fights in Remnant 2, I just felt complete. There are some fights where things feel very Souls-like. You're dealing with a powerful enemy that utilizes a couple core abilities. There are other fights where your brain is constantly on overdrive as you're trying to learn patterns, coordinate movements, and just control the chaos.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Again, no real spoilers, where you have to deal with one enemy on a platform while also watching out for another boss that can shoot a laser beam down a center pathway, instantly.
That sounds sick.
It's that sort of dual focus that is rare in a video game and goes to show the level of depth the developers put into some of these fights. Now, getting a bit technical for a second, there was a little noise around the game's performance leading up to launch. I have to tell you guys, 3 of us playing on 3 completely different PC setups, we barely noticed a thing.
That's good.
We ran into the occasional network issue when trying to co-op, but in terms of stability and frame rate issues, it was silky smooth 99% of the time.
That's great to hear, for sure.
We ran into a few bugs along the way, usually tied to the environment, but we were able to
God, these bosses look
directly
so
to the
sick.
team, and more often than not, they were already on a list to be addressed. It's clear the devs tested and tested again, and after the abysmal year of base PC ports and just general instability with new releases, it's a breath of fresh air. We'll have much more to talk about in the weeks ahead, including our full review of the game on day one. This
looks sick right here, by the way.
Absolutely in love with Remnant 2. We want to do our part to support developers that we believe in and truly think this game
I love that
be
too.
on
That's a good
everyone's
idea.
radar. As always, friends, if you like our content and you want to support the channel, you know what to do. Hit that thumb.
Yeah, definitely go subscribe or like the video for Legacy Gaming. It's tremendous. Good ups to them on talking about the things that they've seen. I'm always excited to hear people's opinions on this game. I've long said that while I wasn't a massive Remnant from the Ashes gamer, I did enjoy the game for what it was. It just, I was late to the party. I didn't jump in at launch. And so the game naturally felt a little clunkier because it was a little older when I finally was able to play. Whereas this one, jumping in at launch, is going to allow me to really feel how fresh and forward thinking the game is compared to the last one. It just feels like everything is going to be better by and large, and that's very, very good to hear, in my personal opinion. Overall, I am so incredibly excited about the game. Countdown is just a couple days until early access. I cannot wait. I am going to be jumping in day one. I'd love to hear what type of content you want to see from me, whether it's build videos, boss battles, etc., all that kind of good stuff. My name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more content like this in the future. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.